They thought ripping out my hedge would make me fall in line. It did the opposite. My name's Luke Merriman, and I live on 3 quiet acres at the edge of Pine Hollow. My place is simple. Weathered barn, old cedar fence, and a hedge line I planted with my dad before he passed. It's the kind of property where mornings smell like pine and wet soil, not the vanilla-scented arrogance that hangs over the HOA neighborhood across the road. The Pine Hollow HOA is different. Perfect lawns, perfect smiles, perfect rules. They measure grass height like it's a religion. And leading them is our president, Karen Holloway herself, who once tried to fine a veteran for having a flag too bright. One afternoon, I got home from work and stopped cold. My entire back hedge, every old cedar shrub, had been ripped out, stumps, roots, everything. A neat little orange notice fluttered on my barn. Unauthorized vegetation encroaching on HOA visibility zone. Visibility zone? I don't even live under their HOA. I marched over to Karen's driveway, and she crossed her arms like she'd been waiting. She said my hedge disrupted the aesthetic continuity of the community entrance. I reminded her my land wasn't their land. She smiled and said, "Property lines are flexible when community standards are at stake." That's when the anger went cold instead of hot, always a sign I'm about to get productive. See, that hedge wasn't just decoration. It was a natural barrier I'd kept for years because every fall, a herd of elk travels through that corridor. They avoid structures, fences, and anything that smells man-made. The hedge? It was the only thing discouraging them from wandering into the HOA's pristine streets. And without it, well, nature doesn't check bylaws. So I called Wildlife Services, double-checked my rights, and set up 2 motion cams facing the corridor. Then I waited. 5 nights later, right at dawn, the herd came. 20-plus elk, huge and majestic, trotting straight through the gap where the hedge used to be, and onward, right into Pine Hollow Estates. They trampled decorative rock beds, knocked over 2 mailboxes, shredded a patch of designer turf, and left steaming gifts across the community's sacred cul-de-sac. Karen called me screaming. I reminded her that removing vegetation on property you don't own is actually a legal issue. And since she'd destroyed a protective barrier for a known wildlife path, every bit of the damage inside their neighborhood was now traceable to her decision. Word spread fast. Neighbors demanded she step down. Insurance fought her. The HOA newsletter, normally a brag sheet, turned into a blame buffet with her name on every page. Meanwhile, I replanted my hedge, paid for entirely by the HOA after a very tense board vote. I even installed a small split-rail fence to help guide wildlife safely, which was the polite way of saying don't touch my stuff again. Funny thing, Karen avoids making eye contact now. Nature taught her more about boundaries than I ever could. Sometimes justice doesn't roar, sometimes it gallops.